okay, maladaptive daydreaming is a problem, yes, but what about maladaptive daydreaming about nonfiction? I'm saying nonfiction, but you know what I mean? Like, my head is not in other worlds. My head is in my work. My head is in my family dynamics. My head is in all of these places and making up all these scenarios and conversations with all these people. So I am super nervous to be recording this, but at the same time super excited because this is the first video that I'm posting on this channel that I've made. I already have another channel where I talk about like Japanese rock and anime and stuff, but I decided I needed to make a new channel because I'm not going to say more important stuff I want to talk about, but a different sector of my mind that I want to be able to express online. I don't see it meshing with the other stuff that I have on my other YouTube. So we're starting fresh. The first thing that I wanted to get out there, I guess you could call it a series of sorts, is things that I've learned. In a week or 2 weeks, I'm going to be turning 30 years old. And there are so many lessons that I've accumulated that I just want to share with people. Like, I just want to talk about it. And even if these are lessons that you've already picked up, it'd be nice to hear from another person who has gone through what you've gone through. And this goes for anybody, any age. We're going to start with the 30th lesson because whenever I think about this particular lesson, I think about the fact that it's the final lesson before hitting 30. I really feel like it's the series finale of lessons for me. So something that I've been doing since I don't know how long is one, maladaptive daydreaming. And I still do that today. When I was a kid, it was more so fantasy stuff, other worlds, cartoon characters, anime, stuff like that. But now that I'm an adult, when I maladaptive daydream, it's about real life, real people, real scenarios that could possibly happen in the real world. This poses a huge problem. Because what happens is once you daydream about a scenario, it starts to change your mood when those things don't happen. When you're thinking of scenarios, but never having things that happen in real life to fulfill those scenarios, you end up in a crappy mood. Let me give you guys an example. Say I'm at work. I would imagine having conversations with certain coworkers. For example, I know some of my coworkers like anime. When you're going around and you're working around people, like, oh man, if only somebody would bring up this because I know we'd have a good conversation and this and this and this. You're preparing yourself for something. And then when it never happens, it starts to make you kind of sad. I hate saying sad because I don't feel an urgency to connect with my coworkers. Like, I understand it's a job. I understand we all don't want to be there, but it would be nice. It'd make the day pass by faster. Here's a bigger, more serious example that's a little bit more general. Maybe you guys will be able to understand it. If you have somebody where you're kind of at odds with them, you imagine in your head, not see them, but you imagine in your head them having conversations about you behind your back. When it does happen, and you start to imagine that, you end up adding weight on your mind and it just weighs you down, especially when you interact with that person the next time. It's not going to be the same as if you just didn't have any of those types of thoughts about them at all. There's a YouTuber that I watch all the time. I watch all his videos. He's very popular on YouTube. There was one particular video about thoughts that he did that gave me the breakthrough to be aware of my thoughts. I kept thinking about the phrase, your thoughts control your emotions, your thoughts control your actions, and all of that jazz, right? And I was like, wait a second, if my thoughts control my emotions, let me start monitoring my thoughts. Through monitoring my thoughts, I realized this is something that I was doing, and that this maladaptive daydreaming that I really didn't think was a problem was starting to become a problem. I was looking up resources like on Reddit and stuff. I always go to Reddit because I love Reddit for all of life's problems. And I was like, okay, maladaptive daydreaming is a problem. Yes, but what about maladaptive daydreaming about nonfiction? I'm saying nonfiction, but you know what I mean? Like, my head is not in other worlds. My head is in my work. My head is in my family dynamics. My head is in all of these places and making up all these scenarios and conversations with all these people. And when they don't happen, or when I picture these people behaving a certain way, it puts my mood in a certain place. Let me put it out there. I think it's pretty obvious considering this is my 30th lesson, okay? I just discovered this year. This lesson has yet to be solved. I'm digesting the idea that that thoughts don't just come from yourself. Thoughts can come from a wide variety of different places. That is why you can't really control them, because you're not in charge of everything that pops in your head. How I've decided to combat this issue is to just steer my mind in a different direction once I catch myself in the middle of having one of these scenarios playing out. So the same week I discovered that I was doing this, I tried for a solid week to steer my mind in a completely different direction. For example, when I was at work, I started thinking about a coworker, how they might be behaving, okay? Because at the end of the day, you don't know unless there's proof. I caught myself in the middle of having that daydream, and I completely created this scenario with this woman who had a neighbor that she had a crush on, but he never got with her. She moved away and ends up coming back to the town, and they end up getting together. I had like a whole scenario that I tried to steer my mind back to every 3 minutes. It was tough. And as somebody who says that I absolutely find meditation to be the most boring thing in the world, that in itself has to be a form of meditation, redirecting your mind back to the same thing over and over again. So it was kind of ironic, because that is basically what I'm doing, trying to steer my mind back to the same thing over and over and over again. I remember the very first day that I tried that, I realized how rapid thoughts are, like how it's just like bam, 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 bam. I could just be doing my job, cleaning the area that I'm supposed to be cleaning, and bam, I'm in the middle of the thought before I know it. And it's just so difficult. Sometimes you're so deep in there and you notice too late and you're like, oh, I've already had the scenario play out like halfway. It's so crazy. But I managed to keep it up for quite a bit. And that week, something really significant happened to me that showed me the benefit of not having these scenarios play out in my head. One thing that I would catch my mind doing is when I plan an event, I would start to daydream scenarios about the event and how it goes, what happens during the event. So when I finally would go to the event and the things I had playing in my head didn't happen, of course I would have fun, because I always have fun, but it wouldn't be the type of fun that my mind has churned up, right? There would always be like this little small bubble of disappointment in the back of my mind that certain things didn't add up to the scenarios that I had in my head. So for this week that I made this discovery about myself, I had an event coming up. It was a Japanese rock concert from a band called Otoboke Beaver. I was super excited because I was like, okay, I'm in a hostel. That means I'll probably get to socialize with people. It was a four-bedroom hostel, right? I was excited to see who my roommates would be. I was excited about the whole trip. But before the trip came up, I prevented myself from thinking about the trip, period. I was like, we're not going to imagine what the concert's going to be like. We're not going to imagine what the roommates are going to be like. We're not going to imagine people in Boston being complete buttholes. I do not like Bostonians. They're so rude and so mean. We're not going to picture any of the bad times you had in Boston and try to correlate it to the possible bad times you might have this time, right? I forbade myself. There's no way that's a word. I forbade myself from having any types of thoughts, period, whether positive or negative. I would not allow it. So anytime I would start to think about, oh, well, what if I'm at the concert and then this happens? What if I bump into this person? Or I would start to think about possible scenarios and I would stop myself immediately. I'm like, no, Savette, this is the one thing that you are not going to think about. You're going to take it in real time. And I did that successfully. When I tell you, I had such an amazing time, and the amount of satisfaction I felt at that concert was unmatched by so much, so many events that I had previously thought about over and over and over again. When I made it to Boston and I made it to the hostel, it was a social hostel and everybody was so nice. I highly recommend it. I'm actually going to put the name here because I will definitely be going again. We had one roommate that was a little bit, but he was mad because I was the only girl in a dorm full of guys and I didn't set it up that way. It just so happened that all three of the roommates in this 4-bedroom mixed dorm turned out to be dudes. So that Asian dude went in, saw me, was very, very visually upset, left, went outside and just sat there. I passed him on the elevator and I was just like, okay, well, I didn't do this. Besides him, the other two roommates, fan freaking tastic. There was one dude, he was from China. There was another guy, he was from Jersey. He was a computer engineer. He just sat down and talked to me about how AI will not steal everybody's job, because I was expressing to him my worries being a computer information technology major, right? So I met him and he was cool, but the first person that I met was actually somebody that I wanted to talk a little bit more about, because this is what caught me off guard the most. So there was another guy that came in shortly after I arrived. I was the first person to arrive at the hostel, like in the 4-bedroom room, right? He comes in, and first of all, he's cute. I don't expect to just bump into like really attractive people casually in my life. It happens a lot, but I don't expect it, you know? So I was like, okay, that's nice. We got somebody good looking in here. Somebody nice to look at when I come back from my concert. It's just nice to wake up and just see somebody who look good, right? I've experienced that in other hostels before, like Costa Rica. That hostel, you just wake up in the morning, you go in the bathroom and you got a man doing his skincare routine. I'm sorry. But anyways, so he came in and he was a little awkward. I actually wanted to give him some time to be in the room alone to kind of adjust, because I know it can kind of be weird being around new people. So I was like, okay, let me get up, let me freshen up in the bathroom or something so I can give him some time to unpack and adjust and be in the dorm alone. So that's what I did. And when I came back, he was facing the door. Me and him made eye contact and we started talking. He introduced himself. He asked where I was from, what brought me here. I told him about the Japanese rock concert. He told me that he was in town because he was trying to get a visa for a different country, right? And it was cool. We ended up having a really awesome exchange. He showed me some Chinese rappers, which was really interesting. And I showed him some of my Japanese rock artists, some Otoboke Beaver videos. It got to the point where we were just standing there awkwardly after we'd finished our conversation. And I was just like, okay, he probably has a whole bunch of stuff to do. I don't want to corner him and keep him in a conversation, right? So I'm thinking all these things and I'm like, wait a second, how about you actually invite him out to like eat, because you're about to go and find something to eat before the concert. Let's actually see if he has time, instead of imagining how are you making up things in your mind for how their schedule is looking. I told myself that I was going to put myself in a mindset during this trip of doing things in real time and seeing what happens instead of imagining what could possibly happen. So I asked him, I was like, hey, I'm about to go get some food. Are you hungry or anything? Would you like to come along? And I basically asked him out to eat. Not in a weird way though. It was more so like, hey, I'm going out to eat. Would you like to come with me, or do you have something planned? And I always give people, when I invite them out places, an exit plan. This is not just guys, girls. Like, I always make sure to say something that kind of gives them an out so they can say no, because some people have anxiety about turning things down. So I always try to give an out. So I was like, hey, if you're busy, completely understand. I'm just going out. I thought you might like to join. I remember feeling very scared in the moment of doing this, because I was just thinking to myself, Savette, you just did something without thinking about the possibilities of what could happen, without thinking about, you know, route B, route A, route C. If he says this and this, if he says this and this, well, what about this? I remember feeling that uneasy feeling. He basically looked at me and was like, well, I have a friend that I'm going out to eat with. Would you like to join us instead? He was like, I'm not really sure if they're actually going to show up, because it's like not a super close friend, but they live here. I'm waiting for a text from them to see if they respond. And if they do respond, we'll go out to eat and you can join. Or if they don't respond, we could just go out to eat together. The friend didn't end up responding. And I was like, hey, are you sure you don't want to wait a little bit longer? And he was like, no, we can go. We can just go out to eat together. Because he was more familiar with Boston, he actually ended up steering the place that we were going to eat at. He was in control of all of where we went. Because I was like, hey, buddy, you know the area better than I do. I'm gonna let you take the lead. You decide where we're going to eat. You decide what we do after. It ended up being a really cool conversation, and I just had so much fun. And I was just sitting at the table like, wow, this is freaking awesome. I just met some random person. We're out eating together. He chose the place and we're just talking about life. We ended up having a great time. He invited me out for boba. He was like, hey, how much longer do you have before the concert? There's this boba place I want to go to. If you have time, you should come along. So we were outside, we were walking, talking. We went and got boba, and then we headed back to the hostel. It was just so much fun. So much fun. And this wasn't significant to me just because he was cute. It was significant to me because this was all unscripted, okay? There was nothing to compare this moment to. Fast forward, I'm leaving out for my concert. I say bye to him. This is before the second guy that I sat and talked to for an hour showed up. That was later on after the concert. Fast forward to the concert. I am there. I am still doing my same mental practices of not trying to imagine what could possibly happen at the concert. All of the people around me, like the security guards, the bartenders, everything, everybody is just so nice. And I'm like, dude, this is Boston. How is it possible that people are being nice to me? People haven't been nice to me in Boston for like years. This one time, I don't imagine anything. Everybody is just so pleasant and just beautiful, and it's a great environment. Somehow, even when I bought Merc, I still ended up at the very front, close to the stage. So that's already two positive things. I got some band t-shirts, and I'm at the front of the stage before the bands actually perform. And that's not even the half of it, guys. I could probably put the video in the middle of this video. So there's this Korean punk band that's apparently pretty popular. I wasn't really familiar with Korean punk at this point, but there was this Korean punk band performing. One of the main vocalists, right? She's in the middle of doing her guitar solo. She is talking in the mic, and then she just climbs off the stage. She's tiny, very cute. And she gives me the mic and she's like, "What's your name?" When I tell you, nothing like that has ever happened in my life. Like, that is a scenario that I would picture in my head. And the chances of that happening is not supposed to happen. But this one time that I do not give energy into thinking about the possibilities of what could happen at this concert, something amazing happens. I say my name and she's just like, "Sing with me."
You can sing Linda, right? Linda. You just heard that. Linda. Okay, do you want to one more time, Linda? Oh, yeah. Linda. Okay. Do you want to one more time, Linda? Yeah.
First of all, I didn't even know the song, but thank God it was a punk song where they were saying the same word over and over again. Thank God. Thank God for punk. I love punk. Punk. She started singing Linda in the mic. I started singing Linda in the mic, and it was like a freaking written novel. I said something to her. I was like, "You're so beautiful." And she gave me a kiss on the cheek, and I was so smitten. I was like, dude, what? And then she got back on the stage, proceeded to shred on the guitar. And it's just like, bruh, what? What just happened? And not only that, when the moment stopped, like when the band got off the stage, when they ended their show and things were being prepped for the main act, which was Otoboke Beaver, people around me were coming up to me offering videos of the moment. You know, there's no way I could have recorded because I was in the moment, right? People came up to me with the film like, "Hey, I can send this to you on Instagram. If it were me, I would want somebody to have caught that moment on camera." It was the most beautiful group of people. And that's not even the half of it. After the Japanese band played, one of the members climbed off the stage on a giant beaver floaty, and everybody was carrying her on their hands. I happen to have my phone, and the people happen to be carrying her above my head. So I was able to record the moment from when she hopped off the stage to when she was on the floaty. It was an amazing weekend, and it was so unplanned and unscripted, and I had not thought about the possibilities in that weekend at all. And I was so happy, like the amount of joy I felt realizing that, hey, when I don't do this, when I don't script, when I don't maladaptive daydream about the things that could possibly happen, when none of this happens, I'm able to take in the moment fully. Like, I'm genuinely surprised at what's happening. And it was a good feeling. I came back from that weekend feeling completely mesmerized at my ability to make myself happy by controlling my thoughts. The problem is I was not able to sustain. Like I said earlier in the video, controlling your thoughts is very, very difficult. A lot of the practices that people do, say meditation, that's stuff you actually have to consciously work on to get better. Just that 1 week was a workout. After that point, I was back at it again. I'm just aware now. This is not a solved lesson. I'm just aware. I wonder if this is something that I can cure completely. I don't think so. I think it'll always be there, but at least I'm aware of it. I'm positive that before I learned this, I would just accumulate those thoughts and let them happen, let them play for like hours. Like, I can only imagine the damage I was doing to myself and just the potential disappointments I was setting up for myself that would just accumulate subconsciously. Even if I was feeling good about something, if you picture it going amazing, fantastic, like as one of the best scenarios that could ever happen in your life, and you're met with something that's just good, there's going to be a level of disappointment. And if you already have trouble with maladaptive daydreaming, it's just a terrible combination. Like, I really wish the maladaptive daydreaming was paired with just me being in my head about fantasy stuff all the time, but nah, I'm a daydream about being in the office. Apparently, it reminds me of those people who say when they go to sleep, they dream of work. It also can be kind of awkward because I do think some mental planning of negative scenarios can be beneficial. Like, if you're thinking about ways that something could possibly go wrong, and then one of the ways happens, you've mentally prepared for that. So it's also difficult trying to bridge the gap between planning mentally and overthinking and doing damage to your potential happiness. So yes, this is my 30th lesson. It is more so awareness. This one is one I'm trying to work on. I'm trying to literally do anything but meditate. I don't want to meditate. It's so boring. A lot of problems I'm having in life all lead back to meditation. I feel like when you study a lot of self-help stuff, which I've been studying for years, all of it just freaking leads back to meditation, man. And like, taking cold baths. If you've made it this far into the video, I really appreciate you watching. If you like the video, please give it a like. This is a new channel and it would certainly help if you guys are having similar issues with this. If you guys have found ways that you can cope, please pass them on to me because I am struggling out here. I am about to meditate. That's how bad it is. There's a type of meditation where you take a bowl, like it's a bowl that makes sound, and like you run something around the rim of it. When I discovered that that was a type of meditation, my interest was piqued. I've just tried the concentrating on like a word or concentrating on breathing. I don't like doing any of that. All right, guys, I will catch you later. See you guys on the 29th lesson. Hopefully it'll be a little bit more helpful for you guys compared to this, because like I said, at this point, this is not a lesson that I have solved. Have a good night.